Yeah. Danilka, Mileshka, and Starenchuk. Yes. Three people that have cameras on. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right, yeah.
let's get some more cameras.
Yeah, maybe they're just behind the scenes. Okay, the recording is on, so when you feel like starting, go
All
ahead.
right, let's Rima, can you hear me? Is it Rima?
Yes, I'm here.
Good.
One
Good.
moment, please. Yes, what do you want to say?
You can see my screen, correct?
Yes, I all see. Yes.
Can you go through the letters of the alphabet for me in English?
Say for you alphabet.
Yes.
Yes. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z.
Okay. I'm gonna change the very last one to Z.
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 Okay. Otherwise, that was absolutely perfect.
Thank you.
How many letters are there?
5 and 25.
That would be a pretty good guess, but not right. Because look at what happens at that second line. So how many letters?
6.
Anybody?
26 letters.
26.
There are 26 letters to our alphabet. Okay. You can count that pretty easily because you see 5 across and 5 down, which would be 25. But if you look at the second line, you see that it is not 5 letters across, but it's 6 letters across. All right. So yeah, there are 26 letters in our alphabet. Let's see. Alexandra Kukla, can you go through the Ukrainian alphabet for me?
Yeah, of course.
Do it for me, because I want to hear it.
Okay, A, B, V, G, D, E, J, Z, I, Y, K, L, M, N, O, P, R, S, T, U, F, H, C, Ч, Ш, Щ, м'який знак, Ю, Я. That's all.
How many letters?
33.
33 letters. Easy to count, right?
Yeah.
Because of the way they're arranged. A little bit of simple mathematics, a little multiplication, a little addition, and you've got the answer real quick. All right. When do you learn these letters? Do you learn them when you're 2 years old, 3 years old? Yes.
I think yes, maybe 2, 3 years old.
Okay.
In
But
the
very
kindergarten.
different.
Yeah, I remember it in the kindergarten, maybe.
Yeah. Very different from our alphabet. All right. Your letters, am I right in saying your letters are based on the Cyrillic alphabet? Is Cyrillic the right term? Alexandra, do you know?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't, I think that's the right term, the right English term for your alphabet versus our alphabet. All right. I'm going to take those off the screen for the moment. If I can get that out of the way. So those are letters of the alphabet. I want to go back to Rima. Are you there? There you go. English alphabet.
Yeah.
Do you think you could do it backwards?
Again?
from the end to the beginning. Do you think you can?
I can, yes.
Okay, do it backwards for me.
A, B.
No,
C.
that's not, wait, that's not backwards. I want you to start at the end.
Ah, with and. Okay. Z.
Yeah.
Y. Or Y. Y.
Okay.
W. V. Q.
What happened to X?
Ah. X.
All right. You've proven my point. That's good enough for the moment. All right. Doing it backwards is far more difficult.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yes.
All right. Now I'm going to stick with you, Rima. Rima, I want you to count for me in English from 1 to 10.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Great. I want you to do it backwards for me.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
My point is, it's amazing how simple our mathematical digits and system is compared to dealing with an alphabet or dealing with words. And yet people struggle with our mathematics. And I'm not sure exactly why, because I'm a mathematician and I haven't had to struggle. But it is amazing how simple we have developed a system that both you understand and I understand. The digits are the same, 1 through 10, 0 through 9. We can communicate across cultures with those numbers. But trying to communicate across cultures with words and with letters is far more difficult. And yet we do it because we're trained to do it. All right. Let's talk with Alexandra Starenchuk, if that's correct. Can you tell me what the very first thing you learned to do in mathematics was? What's the first thing you learned?
Yeah, first thing it was the numbers, and second it was adding and subtracting.
Okay, great. So with the numbers, counting, right? Very first thing you learned to do is count.
Yeah.
Good. Alexandra, keep going. Can you count for me by twos up to 20?
Twos is like 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 12, 20.
20. All right, great. Do you know what those numbers are called?
Those goes even numbers.
Those are even numbers. Okay. Pablo, you there? Do we have Pablo on board?
Yeah.
Okay, great. I want you to start at 1 and count by twos for me, up to 20. Can you do that?
Pablo,
there?
1 to 20? Sorry.
Count by
Can you
count.
repeat, please?
Start at 1, count by twos up to 20. Can you do that?
Oh, mm-hmm.
1, then what?
1, 2, 3.
Uh,
1 first, 2
yeah.
seconds, 3 third. About this?
I want you to count by twos. So it'd be 1, 3. What's next?
1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, 15, 17, 19, 21.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
good enough.
That's all.
Do you know what those numbers are called?
Maybe another word about this. Yeah.
They're not even numbers. Do you know what kind of numbers they are?
Now I hear about this, and uh, I know about.
Okay. All right. They're called odd numbers,
Yeah. Yes.
right?
Thank you.
We went, yes. And again, this is about English. This is about also a little bit of mathematics, very basic, very simple mathematics. All right. So even numbers, odd numbers. And you're doing nothing more than counting. So not too hard. I want you to listen to me, and I want you to tell me how I did. I'm going to count for you in Ukrainian, I think. Noi, один, два, три, чотири, п'ять, шість, сім, вісім, дев'ять, десять. Alexandra Kukla, how'd I do?
Yeah, it sounds great.
I'm not sure you're telling the truth, but
Why not? No, really, it's so close to
close.
how. Yeah, it's so
Okay.
close.
Okay. It's very hard for me to learn anything from your language because it's a different alphabet entirely, or very much so. All right. And I know it's very hard for you to learn English. In English, there are over 200,000 words. And yet, most of us don't speak more than 2,000 to 4,000 words at most. So many of those words are never used, just never used. And it's hard for you to decide what ones are of value and what ones are not. We'll get into those words again later on, okay? But that little lesson right there is, yeah, it's difficult for me to learn your language, but I can understand how it's even far more difficult for you to learn English. And what you're doing so far is very good. All right, great. Let's stretch a little further. I think I've picked on, do we have any others? We've got 4. I see 4 around right now. Let's go back to Alexandra Starenchuk. I want you to count for me by 3s up to 30.
Starting from 1?
Say it again.
Starting from 1 or from
Starting
the
from 3.
from 3? Okay, it's like 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24. Then it's going 27 and 30.
Okay, can you do it backwards?
30, 20, 27, 24, 21, 18, 15, 20, 12, 9, 6, 3, and 0.
So much easier than trying to do the alphabet, right? Okay. Our system is, I'm going to try and say almost universal, and our system is simple, at least to start with as a base. We'll do one more, okay? Let's go back to Rima. Can you count by 7s, starting at 7 up to 70?
Up to 70.
Yes.
7, 14, 21, 28, 30, 28, 30, 5, 35, 42, 48, 50, 50, 49.
49, yes.
49, 49, 56, 60, 63.
Cool.
It's difficult.
And the last one is
63 and
63, last one.
70. 70.
63,
70. 70.
right? Okay. let's go to Alexandra Kukla. Can you count by 7, starting at 70, going backwards?
By 7?
By 7.
Okay, it's 70, 63, 56, 49, 42, 35, 28, 21, 14, 7, 0.
Okay. Look, we all presume, even though the very first thing that we learned in mathematics is counting, we all presume that it's extremely easy to do and manageable. But as we change the numbers, yeah, you do have to think about what you've done. When I teach calculus, everybody understand calculus? Everybody understand the word? Okay. When I teach calculus, the mistakes that I find most often are simple counting mistakes. All right. It's not that they don't understand calculus, they understand a higher order of mathematics. But when it comes to solving a problem, the mistakes that are made are simple counting mistakes. And that's part of the lesson that I want to teach here about mathematics, is that don't overlook the fact that you have to check and you have to be aware of those mistakes. And those are often the source of your most prominent problems. All right. Great. Accuracy. Big deal. I heard a little story yesterday. It was a grocery store. And again, if the words aren't familiar with you, I hope you know what a grocery store is. It was a grocery store advertising a contest that if you won the contest, you would get $500 each month for 40 years to pay for your food. How much money is that?
$500 for 40 years. It's like one deal, or it's like every day, every month, every year,
You get it $500 a month,
a month.
40 years. How much money do you get?
Okay, so $5 in 1 year we will get $60. If we have 40 years, it's 2,400.
Is it just $2,400? You see, I do want you doing it mentally. That's part of the job here. And that's another lesson I'm trying to get across. I know that the kids will often tell me, well, I don't need to do mental mathematics. I've got this device sitting right here that will do the computation for me. But often this device is just either not available or too slow.
I think he got it correctly, but he simply didn't name it correctly. It's 240,000.
It
Yeah,
is
200
200,
and
it is 240,000. Maybe he
yeah.
didn't name it correctly,
Yeah,
right?
that's
But you got a number of zeros there on the end. In total, that's $240,000 that you would get if you won this prize. Two people would get a chance, would win this prize. $240,000. Is that more than $250,000 or less than $250,000? Anybody?
It's less.
It's just a little bit less than $250,000, right? Here in the United States, I could easily get by on $500 a month for food. I probably spend $300 to $400 a month for food just for myself. That's just tells you what the expenses are. Of course, 40 years down the road, will I be able to get by with just $500 a month? What do you think?
It's probably not because of the inflation.
That's exactly what I would hope you would answer. In fact, very unlikely because of inflation. So you see, there's a little bit of a catch in this prize, that $500 takes on less and less value over time, probably. We don't know for sure, but probably, based on history, that inflation will eat away at the value of that money. And therefore, what I'm actually getting out of this deal isn't as great as it sounds. It would be nice if I won. It would be great if I had that extra money, but we know that that's not quite as valuable as we might initially think it is. All right. Look, that's just a little lesson on the mental mathematics. I'm trying to do it up here. That's one of the things that I try and make my kids do from time to time in class, because there's just situations where you need to be sharp enough to do that. And that's part of becoming a mathematician, is being sharp enough to do that. All right. Got another problem for you. Since I've got two Alexandras, I'm going to pick on just one of them, a Maxime and a Rima. I've got three people, right? Rima, Alexandra, and Maxime. I want to form a committee of two people. How many different committees could I possibly have?
Probably three.
Say it again.
Three.
Should be three, right? I could have Rima and Oxandra. I could have, and who did I just lose?
Maxim.
Maxime, yes. I just lost Maxime. So I could have Rima and Oxandra. I could have Rima and Maxime. I could have Alexandra and Maxime, right? Those are the only three different committees that I could have. Now, what if we change the rules a little bit? First of all, what kind of a mathematical problem is that? Do you know?
Combination?
It's a combination problem, right? Combinations are nothing more than counting, are they? And yet, this gets to be a little more difficult. My point being that, yes, look, we think of counting as very, very simple, but there are many counting situations that aren't quite so simple. And we need to teach our students that it goes beyond the simple, and it involves some mathematics that's very important mathematics, combinations. All right. What if my three people, when I chose them, one of them would be chosen as the president, the other one would be chosen as the vice president, and the third one would be the treasurer, right? So whoever I choose first would be president. Whoever I choose second would be vice president. And whoever I choose third would be treasurer. Does that change the problem?
Yeah, totally.
That definitely changes the problem. How many different arrangements would I have?
You would have three because you have three decisions. It's what I'm thinking. It's like first the president 1 of 3, then it's treasurer or vice president. It goes 1 from 2 and treasurer 1 from 1.
So how many different arrangements do I have?
6.
6. It's no longer a combination, is it? It's what we call a permutation. Does that word make sense?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Okay. The number
Factorial.
changes
It's
because
factorial.
the circumstances change, right? You're working with a permutation, not a combination, and yet it's still a counting problem. And so, yes, we tend to overlook counting as significant. We just assume everybody can count in the way that I need them to. But counting, the very first thing that you learn to do in mathematics, goes far beyond just counting from 1 to 10. And it's simple mathematics that if your kids don't understand, if your students don't understand, all right, if your employees don't understand, that makes for the potential for mistakes. So combinations, permutations, just another form of counting and something that we tend to overlook. Let me think about what I want to do next here. I'm going to pull something up on the screen. Temperature. Maps. No, I don't want maps, not yet. Give me a minute. I need to find what I want here. Count. All right, let's go beyond that for a moment. I wanted to go to, I'm not sure I've got the graphic that I want, but let me see if I can. 20. There we go. I know this graphic is not easy to read. All right, because when I took it, there was a reflection. Beyond counting, one of the things that make it more difficult for us to communicate mathematically is measurement. And here's a case of measuring temperature. And what problem does that present for us, for you, for me?
We have different measuring systems.
We have different measuring systems, okay? That yours is the more logical system based on the metric system or the international system of measurement. Ours is the least logical system based on English common units of measure that evolved just with time. All right. And so in terms of translating, there's a difference, right? That for us, well, you tell me, 0 degrees for you would be what for us?
32 Fahrenheit.
Yeah, it would be 32, right? That's a freezing temperature. Here in the United States, here where I live, we've just been hit by a Siberian Arctic blast, and our temperatures were very low. I was, when I took the temperature the other day, it was 14 degrees. Any idea what that would be for you, roughly?
As I think it is
Negative.
close to -20 or 15.
-9.
Yeah,
Um,
around, I'd say around -9, -8, someplace in that neighborhood. Right? That there's an equation that I can use, right? But there's also, aside from an equation, just kind of a general rule of thumb that for every change of 10 degrees for you, it's going to change about 18 degrees for me. And so what would 10 degrees Celsius be if, well, let's see, do I want to ask that question? Well, maybe I'll ask that question. What would 10 degrees Celsius be if I wanted to measure it in Fahrenheit?
52, around 52.
Yeah, it's right around 50 degrees in that neighborhood. Okay. That, again, I've got to rely on either some standard of unit or some equation, all right, to convert or make that conversion. And so, yeah, throwing measurement in, which in essence says throwing in science, makes it a lot easier or a lot harder for us to try and communicate across line. All we're doing is measuring. All we're doing is using simple numerical values, but it's much more difficult for us to communicate with each other the way that we would like to. Okay. -10, negative, again, you can see some of the negative numbers. These negative numbers, I got this chart from Denali in Alaska. I was up there for a short trip and had a chance to experience what -40 degrees would feel like. And they at times have to deal with those temperatures, -20, -30, -40 in Fahrenheit. -40 is the point at which both Celsius and Fahrenheit are the same. So -40 to you means the same as -40 to me. And yeah, very, very cold. But without humidity, it's not as bad as it would feel here. And so as a consequence, I've been taught that, yeah, we have to deal with it at times, but it is manageable. It can be done. So measurement throws in an issue there when it comes to dealing with numerical values. Okay. There's a song here called The 12 Days of Christmas. On the first day of Christmas, my true love gave to me one partridge in a pear tree. On the second day of Christmas, my true love gave to me two turtle doves and a partridge in a pear tree. On the third day of Christmas, my true love gave to me three French hens, two turtle doves, and a partridge in a pear tree. Now you may want to get out your calculators. Fourth day, I get four birds, three hens, two doves, one partridge. Fifth day, I get five golden rings, four birds, three, two, one. By the time we get through 12 days, how many gifts do I have altogether? Got a calculator? See if you can figure out how many gifts are there.
78. With this rough guess.
I would get 78 gifts Well, let's see.
And a +1. It's a per tree. It's not a gift, sorry.
So that's not a gift. Well, let's just how do I add up the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 very quickly?
We can group this number to 13. Like 1 and 12 is 1, 13, 2 and 11 it's a second 13. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4.
It will be
Five.
6 group of 13, it means it's 78. That's how I calculated it. So
Okay,
yes.
you're right. Okay, look, if I'm going to add consecutive numbers, and then again, this is mathematics. If I'm going to add simple consecutive numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's a much easier way to do it rather than doing straightforward addition, right? It's going to be 12, the highest number, times one more than that, 13, divided by 2. 12 times 13 divided by 2. This is an arithmetic sequence that can more easily be evaluated using that principle. Well, 12 divided by 2 is 6, and 6 times 13 is 78. So yes, I would have 78 gifts on the very last day. But what about the next to the last day? How many gifts would I have there? Because on the next to the last day, I'm going to get 11 pipers, 10 lords, 9 ladies, 8 babies.
So we just can say it will be 66.
66. 11 times 12 divided by 2. What about the day before that, up to the 10th day? How many gifts would I get there?
55.
That would be 10, 5. I'm sorry, I didn't hear. What was your number?
55.
55, right? If I wanted to come up with the total number of gifts for all days, I would have to add those numbers, 78, 66, 55, and whatever the other numbers turn out to be, right? This again is counting, but at a more complex level, involving, again, some knowledge about arithmetic sequences, like this one happens to be, all right? Or an arithmetic series, actually, because you're adding 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4, right? Great. Very relatively simple mathematics. And yet you can see that it can get more complex when the further we go, just as we try and count things. Okay? All right. Oh, where are we here? There we go. Oh, I didn't plan on bringing that up, but while we bring that up, do we know who that is?
Taylor Swift.
Yes, Taylor Swift. Do we know who the people are, who the guys are?
No.
Hmm?
No, I don't know this guy.
Don't know the guys? The guy on the right is Travis Kelce. Does that mean anything to you? No. It's interesting. You know Taylor Swift. And again, this is a cultural thing. Does the word Super Bowl mean anything to you?
This like some sport event. It's or baseball or
Actually,
football.
no, it's not baseball. Any idea what other sporting event it might be?
Football, American football, maybe.
Rugby could be.
Yeah, it's actually football, but not football, not soccer, but football.
American football.
Say it again.
American football.
American football, right? Okay. And the Super Bowl is the final championship after many games and many playoffs for who wins the championship of American football here in America. Travis Kelce is a Taylor Swift's boyfriend. So every time you watch one of his football games, they will show pictures of Taylor Swift in the stadium, all right, cheering for him. And the gentleman on the left side is Jason Kelce. He used to play up until last year. He was the center for the Philadelphia Eagles, which is my team, our team, all right? And those two are brothers, Travis and Jason. And those are the two teams that are actually in the Super Bowl this year. So again, this is a kind of a cultural thing. It's a big deal here, right? The thing that you're going to watch as a sport, not this weekend, but next weekend. So Travis and Jason Kelce, Philadelphia Eagles versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Those are the two teams that are playing. Now, I realize those things don't mean that anything to you culturally that I'm aware of. All right. Is there something in your country that is the biggest sport? I don't know if I can say that in light of the war, but even prior to the war, what's the biggest sport in your country?
Probably soccer, as you say. So it's like
Soccer?
uh,
Um, anything else that might come second to that?
Box.
Boxing?
Boxing.
Yeah, boxing is the
Boxing?
second.
Okay. All right. What next? Anything else?
probably some sort of gymnastic or athletic. Maybe I'm
That's what
wrong.
that's what I kind of thought might come up is gymnastics. All right. Something that shows a great deal of skill and strength and grace, right? So yeah, football is what holds everybody's attention here this time of year. There's so many other sports. This is a picture of the United States, obviously. All right. You're looking at, I'm going to point to Pennsylvania, which is where I live and where the Philadelphia Eagles play. All right. This is Kansas. This is where the Kansas City Chiefs play. So it's those two areas of the state that that are challenging each other. And they'll actually play, I believe, down here in New Orleans. Have you ever heard of New Orleans? Not really? Yes, no? Okay. Have you ever heard of Hurricane Katrina?
Sometime, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I've heard about it.
probably in in a couple cases here, maybe before you were born. All right. Hurricane Katrina hit New Orleans extremely hard. New Orleans sits at the bottom of the Mississippi River. The Mississippi River runs through this country, and I'll move the arrow, roughly speaking, along this line. It is the river that makes this country work, actually, running down the middle of the country. What river runs down the middle of your country?
Dnipro.
Then
Oh.
Dnipro?
Yeah.
Dnipro River, right? Okay. It kind of divides your country into two separate sections. The Mississippi River is the river that divides this country into two separate sections. But if it weren't for the Mississippi, we wouldn't probably exist as a country. It allows us to travel and communicate prior to, in old times. Rivers were extremely important in terms of transportation. And so it allowed us to bring this country together, is what it did. In 2005, Katrina, a hurricane, hit this area. And because that area is right at the base of the Mississippi, that area, in spite of all the efforts to prevent it from flooding, flooded terribly. And in fact, they're still trying to recover from that 20 years later. The people that hurt the most, obviously, the people that lived in the poorest sections, the people that were where areas tended to flood the most. And so, yeah, this is where the Super Bowl will be played. This is where Katrina hit so hard and damaged a part of this country. That sort of climate event is happening more and more often here. And I presume having an effect on you as well. What's the primary crop that you grow in Ukraine?
Shakhtar, Dnipro, two clubs.
So name them for me again.
Shakhtar.
Crops, not clubs. Crops like wheat, rice. It's not about clubs, about crops.
Very good. And again, there's English, right? So crops, wheat's a big crop for you. Am I correct?
So yeah, it's primary crop.
So soybeans, yes? No?
Also know this,
Yeah.
a big part of also, some corn also, but not primary. But it's depends on the year. Sunflower is also a popular. So it's like
Okay.
maybe I don't know every name that we agricultural crops we are growing on here, but it's prime here. So
Okay. All right. So yeah. Wheat's a big crop for you there. Okay. It's also a big crop for us here. All right. It's the basis of a lot of our food. All right, in the process. So so great. Getting back to our sports situation and Miss Taylor Swift and whatnot. This is a big, as I said, a big event here that wouldn't matter that much to you. Soccer would matter more, presumably. And it just gives you some idea culturally as to what's important here in terms of sports. All right. All right. See if I can find one more picture that I want to bring up.
It's 6 p.m., 11 p.m. just for you. You told me just to keep you,
What we're gonna do, let me bring these up for a second. Let's try and make this one a little bit smaller. We're gonna go through this little break because I'll tell you why in a minute. It's an outline. That's what I want there. All right. This is the actual last thing that I want to do today, which means we're going to cut things a little bit short time-wise. Right? But there's some material that's missing that I expected to find in this graphic that are in this folder. And so as a result, I'm not going to fret about that. I'm going to finish with what I have here today and then go find that material overnight. You see a picture of the United States, all right? You see this, you see the state that I live in, the state of Pennsylvania, right here, okay? You see a picture of Europe. You see Ukraine, obviously, right here. How many countries surround Ukraine?
Five in on a land only.
I heard 5. What else did I hear?
7.
I think there's 7, aren't there?
Oh, yeah, 7.
I think there's 7
But
altogether.
even more if we will include ocean transfers.
Even
if-
more if we would include what?
Ocean.
Across the
No,
Black
not ocean,
Sea.
but Black Sea. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Even more if we include the Black Sea. You're precisely correct there. But let's just talk about those 7. How many different languages are spoken in those 7 countries?
7 different languages,
Yes, also
at
7.
least.
There's certainly Romanian, right?
Yeah.
Moldova, that's still Russian, am I correct?
Not really. They also have the
They have
Yeah.
their own language,
Yeah,
their own
yeah.
dialect.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so those 2, Romania, what do we have here? We've got Hungary, right? Okay, different language.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe so.
Could someone from Romania understand someone from Hungary?
Totally.
Okay. Can you understand someone from Hungary?
Not.
Not really.
No, not really. Uh, what do I want to say? Slovakia, right? Different language.
Yes.
Okay. Poland, different language.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Belarus, are they Russian speaking or are they something else?
They have their own language.
Their
But
own
I
language.
think Russian.
But their language is similar to us.
Yeah.
Okay. And obviously Russian over here. Do all of you speak Russian?
yes.
We don't speak, but we know it.
Say it again. Oh, you don't speak it, but you know it.
Yeah.
All right. Alexandra Kukla, I want to talk to you specifically and have the others listen to you because you're a little older than they are, I assume. Okay. Great. Why do you say you don't speak it, but you know it?
Cause usually we try to use Ukrainian language.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Is
So
there
we,
a-
yeah. I have friends. They know and use both Russian and Ukrainian. But some of them use exception only just Ukrainian language elsewhere in Ukraine. So
I-
they understand. Yeah, so they try to understand it, but in general they speak only Ukrainian.
Okay. Were you alive when you were still part of the Soviet Union?
Yeah, but I was a child. It was maybe when Ukraine became to independence. Maybe it was 5 or 6 year.
Okay,
child.
you were
old.
5 or 6 years old, all right?
Yeah.
Were you taught to speak Russian then?
Yeah, sometime. Yeah, in general, all my childhood and sometime, but maybe it's become more close to use Ukrainian in the higher school and at university.
Okay, Vladimir, tell me a little, because you're a little older than the rest. Tell me about, was there a push not to speak Ukrainian when you were in the Soviet Union?
All subjects were in Russian except we had the subject called native language in all republics, Soviet republics, and native literature. But other than that, everything was in Russian. Then after the independence, it was the change. So everything was in Ukrainian, and but we were bilingual. The east of Ukraine were mostly Russian speaking, big cities also Russian speaking. So Ukrainian is the western part, maybe central part a little bit. But basically, I would say 60 to 40. 60 were Russian speaking, and I believe Kropivnitsky is also mostly a Russian speaking city. Maybe because of the war, they tend not to speak Russian anymore, because it's just like symbolizes the protests, probably like this. So even people understand and speak Russian. I know a lot of people that for them Russian is a native tongue. They switched to Ukrainian on purpose, and some of them just learned Ukrainian because of the war. They didn't want to have nothing in common with the Russian Federation. So that's how it happened.
Got it.
But I believe that my generation, maybe plus 5 years from me, they basically, for them, the native tongue is Russian, especially from the eastern part, southern part. So
I
it's
was going
just
to
the
say
history.
east of the Dnieper River, there's more prone to be Russian, yes?
Yeah, Russian spoken, yes, but it changed since, let's say, 2014, like this, 11 years ago. It was like a push to use Ukrainian everywhere and to switch to Ukrainian in all places. And it was like everyone had to know Ukrainian if he wants or she wants to become an official. So it was like this. But bilingual, I believe most people remain bilingual. For example, my nephew, he doesn't speak, he speaks Russian, but he is not able to write, and he writes with mistakes. If he tries to write in Russian, he doesn't know it so at all. So I think starting with 1990s, people born in from 1995, I believe, they don't write, they maybe speak broken Russian. It's a broken Russian. It's not the real Russian, so but they speak
Yeah.
it a little bit with a lot
All
of
right.
mistakes.
So here's my
Yeah.
point. You're surrounded by 7 other countries, of which there are, it seems, 7 different languages. I live here in Pennsylvania. I'm surrounded by 7 other states: New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, West Virginia, Ohio, New York. How many different languages do you think I deal with there?
Honestly, one, but with a
deal-
little difference.
Say it again.
I hope it's one language, but with a little difference in some words, like or some style of speaking.
Yes, yes. Those people
But
in New Jersey don't know how to talk. Okay. So, yeah, I'm surrounded too by 7 different states, not countries, but states. The population of those 7 different states are not a whole lot different than the population of the countries that surround you. Okay. Yeah, maybe a little smaller, but I was recently just in Hungary, and I understand their population's only 9 million people. That kind of surprised me. I thought there would be more. Okay. So my point is, I'm surrounded by 7 different states, but we speak but a single language and can understand what the other person is saying, even though there might be an accent that's different than what we expect. That makes my life a whole lot easier than your life. And I'm just trying to say that culturally, it kind of isolates us from some of the problems, from all the problems that you have to deal with. And in a sense, that makes us dumber, not as intelligent, not forced to be as intelligent as perhaps we should be. And that's part of what's going on in this country right now, which we'll get to down the road. But you can see how we're homogenous. We are blended together in one form, at least by language. And that is true across all 48 states. That language links us to the point that we kind of lose track of what's going on outside of the United States, where you can't afford to do that. You have more to consider. And again, that's what makes this country culturally very different from somebody living in Europe, and also now politically, all right, in a bit of a mess. So enough said about that. I'm going to break this session up today and come back and start with where we left off tomorrow. See if I can find the graphics and whatnot that I want. And then we'll talk more about mathematics. We'll talk more about culture, and hopefully talk more in English that helps you speak English a little better, okay, if needed. All of you, by the way, speak fairly well. So impressive. All right, you guys can sign off. Vladimir, if you'll stay with me, that'll be good. And we'll see people tomorrow, same time.
Okay, I'm stopping recording, and for